What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening to the economic calendar thus far, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to the market thus far. Looking at many tickers out there, there's some very, very tight ranges where the market's just been going back and forth and back and forth. This is likely going to continue for the remainder of the day. But I'm going to break down what these ranges are and what this means for the market for tomorrow. When it comes to the economic data that came out, the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index was once again very close to what the forecast was. Same thing with the shipments. Everything was very close, but the services was a little bit better than expected. So this actually helped the market pop a little bit. Besides that, everything else was quite insignificant, nothing too crazy. For tomorrow, just to be safe, 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the PMI reports coming out. That's going to be very important for manufacturing and more numbers like that. And then the data becomes a lot more serious on Thursday and Friday as we have the GDP numbers coming out, not to mention PCE inflationary data for Friday. So overall, the data is not that crazy for the rest of today. It's affecting the market to some extent, but nothing too insane will be happening for the rest of today. And also for tomorrow, there's some minor data. As far as Tesla goes, I'm seeing a lot of headlines about Tesla. Obviously, Tesla has its earnings coming up in just a couple of days. And this is very important because, with Tesla's earnings, we're going to find out more details about their operating costs, what's happening with their margins, and other factors like that. And it's going to have a big effect on, in my opinion, the entire stock market. If Tesla gets a massive bounce and it does something very surprising to squeeze shorts, this could help the market push up, in my opinion. And if the same thing happens the opposite way, if Tesla ends up crashing, that could also be a little negative for the markets. I think that this is going to have to do and also affect consumer sentiments to some extent. So we're going to be watching those operating costs and those margins just to see how things end up going. Now, looking at the market, I just want to mention that SPY has been pretty much range bound. Okay, it's been going back and forth and back and forth, not really doing much. We have this demand zone right over here around the 483 zone, and then we have this supply zone all the way up here, just under 484, even just a little bit under 484 flat, a little bit higher than that too for some instances. But if anything, it's just been going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, continuing to consolidate. I think there's a very good chance the market's just going to continue to do this. There's not really going to be a whole lot that happens for the rest of today. But looking at Tesla and the big earnings that's coming out, we might just see the market continue to chop around for an extended period of time before we get a big reaction after Tesla's earnings, in my opinion. And that's also going to be intertwined with the reaction happens on Thursday. It's going to be intertwined with the GDP numbers as well. So that's pretty much it for now. If you want to be bullish on SPY for the next few days, you want to see it break 485. Hasn't quite done that just yet. If you want to be bearish, you want to see it basically lose 482. If that happens, look for a bigger drop. Otherwise, it's just stuck and very, very boring for the time being. As far as Tesla goes, Tesla's looking kind of flat as well. So Tesla, as I mentioned yesterday, we could see this thing kind of like pop and drop. I made that prediction yesterday. But this morning, I was expecting it to try to push a little bit as we opened before seeing the reaction. It ended up testing this supply zone before coming back down. And now it's just chopping around the 209 area. So it's very boring as well, just going back and forth and back and forth. There's not really a whole lot going on with Tesla, if you ask me. Excuse me, guys. So it's pretty much just stuck here. If you want to turn bullish, especially after its earnings and such, you want to see a big break above 212 and eventually 220. We haven't even come close to that level quite yet, and it's still looking relatively weak. Now, earnings is going to have a big effect on Tesla. It's going to be the biggest driving factor. We're still waiting for that. If Tesla ends up not doing well for earnings and guidance, expect a bigger drop to be coming all the way back down towards 200. If that ends up breaking, there's 194 coming next, so we'll have to see how Tesla does. If anything, it's very stationary. You guys can see it's trading sideways here, a little pop and drop, sideways price action, pop and drop, and just sideways price action. Not really a whole lot is going on, so it's going to likely continue like this approaching its earnings. So we'll have to wait and see how that ends up going. For the QQQ, it's essentially the same thing, sideways boring price action. We have resistance around 423, just a little bit under that. Support is around 421. We've been going back and forth, very boring. To turn bullish, you want to try to break the all-time high, which is very close to 425. You need to see more volume coming in. If this is a nice accumulation, there is potential for it to bounce. If we're bearish, you want to see it, excuse me, sorry guys, I apologize. We want to see it basically lose 420. If we lose 420, we're going to be looking for a bigger drop. I apologize for my coughing, guys. I'm feeling a little bit ill right now, but I'm not going to let that stop me. So if we lose 420, there's going to be a bigger drop. Watch that very carefully and we'll see how it goes. As far as Aapl goes, we're going to be watching to see how Aapl holds at this range. Apple's also trying to uptrend. It's actually fighting this 195 resistance. We have support around 193.5. It's been going back and forth for the last 2 days. If we're bullish, you want to see it basically break out of the 195s, continue pushing, and our next target is going to be 197. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 193.5 and start sinking back down to much lower levels. It did break down temporarily before getting bought back up, and if anything, it's actually looking like it's favoring the bulls a bit more, so it may attempt to break to the upside. Otherwise, this is very, very just kind of flat, not really doing a whole lot, so I'll be watching this very, very carefully. Watch that 195 resistance. We might just chop around for the rest of today, then look for a bigger move going into tomorrow. Last but not least, we have Nvda. Nvda is going to be very important. They're kind of stuck right now. Watch support around 590. This is going to be very, very key. Then we have this resistance all the way up here around 597. It's been going back and forth for quite some time. And it's very, very choppy. It's been very much just choppy right now, trading around the 595s. If we lost 590, expect a bigger drop towards 584. If we're bullish, you want to see a break above 600 to start pushing up higher. As of right now, it's kind of stuck, not really doing a whole lot. So the best thing to do is just watch your ranges and be very, very patient with the stock. So that being said, I just wanted to thank every single one of you so much for listening. The thing about the market is that we're in a very, very interesting state. There is still potential for stocks like SPY and the QQQ to push up higher. There's still potential for that to happen in the future, but this is going to depend a lot on earnings and other factors like that. SPY is technically attempting to uptrend. It's still trying to break its highs. It's still pushing upwards, right? Momentum is slowing down as we're at some tight resistance at 485, but it's not collapsing just yet, so I wouldn't turn too bearish quite yet. What's interesting about the way the market pushes is when the market pushes a lot of people instinctively just start shorting it, but that doesn't seem to work, especially for this market, because it could just keep going higher, right? They could just keep on squeezing shorts. So it's very unfortunate, at least for the people who are trying to short the markets, but I would just say watch your levels very carefully and try to be very patient. I also want to mention that on the QQQ, especially on the 4-hour time frame, we're very flat for now, not really doing a whole lot. We're nearing a bearish crossover in the PPO, but it's too flat for it to actually drop. And we want to see if it loses the 4-hour 20 EMA. It hasn't broken that quite yet. It's very flat, very indecisive. So the best thing to do is just be very patient. Anyways, with that being said, guys, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. Don't forget, we have some big earnings coming out for tomorrow. The market may remain very boring for the rest of the day, so I'm not going to see myself trading from this point on. I might just step aside and take a break and rest a bit. So please have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon for the afternoon video in just a couple of hours. Remember to remain calm, cool, and collected, and just know the long-term future of the markets and Tesla is still very bright despite what's happening in the short term. Thank you for listening, and peace out.